Hey all, and I hope everybody's having a great week. It's been a lot going on here since I got back from my trip from Mexico and Honduras, but mainly a lot of eye-opening epiphanies. And it's interesting because I was just talking with a client and I was talking about how this is layers. And so things that you thought you've overcome and things that you thought you've healed, then you peel back layers and there's more of this. And so what you have to understand is that if you believe in reincarnation, which I do, you believe in past lives, uh, that's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years of programming that is within you. But even if you don't believe in past lives, just within this realm, I've been on this planet for 48 years. That's 48 years of conditioning and programming of what block is a part of our blocks in our life. And so we hear all these cliche statements like we're spiritual beings having a human experience and all that kind of stuff, and we're remembering and all this great stuff, and that's wonderful. And with that being said, we've also forgotten. That's another statement. But until you start getting down into what's causing these blocks and how do you do that? So it's actually a fairly easy process as far as steps, but it's not an easy process as far as practice. Like anything in changing conditioning, it comes down to exercise or learning a new trade or learning a new bits of information. It may be easy in concept, and except for changing the habits and changing the way we view things is definitely not easy. Because what happens? We have to start looking within ourselves and why these things are happening. So first thing you have to look at is you have to stop the blame and shame game. And so, yes, we've all had crappy experiences. Yes, we've all had things that have hurt us, damaged us, given us tremendous amounts of pain. We've all had that. I've had it, you've had it, and some, the severity level is substantially higher, and some is, just, it is what it is. It's painful. And this is not a measurement of who has the most pain. This is not a contest of that. What it is we have to look at the energy of it. And so we have to kind of zoom out and look at it from a whole perspective, I guess is the best way to put it. And so I'll give you an example. I've thought about this a lot. And so we think about this stuff in concept. We have to get down to the heart or the energy of it. So I'll give you an example of this. I was born to a 16-year-old mother in 1974 and a 15-year-old father. So obviously at 15 and 16, they were kids themselves, right? And so one could, on this level, from a 48-year-old perspective, I can look back and see they did the best they could with what they had. And so, 15 and 16-year-olds aren't necessarily emotionally equipped or even physically or substantially or financially equipped to become parents. And with that being said, every parent I've ever spoken to said, you're never ready to become a parent. There's no rule book. There's no concept for that. It's just you make your way through it, basically. And so why this is interesting and why this is profound, because when you have to take yourself back to being a child. So the child in me, my father's parents moved to Arizona and my mother still lived in Minnesota. The child in me didn't understand. It only knew that a part I had something that other kids didn't have. I didn't have a dad. At least I did have a dad, but he was in another state. And so that in the child mind feels abandoned. And so what does that set you on a course of doing? Now, this is not about blaming my father or my parents or my grandparents or any of my family. It's about the perception of a child. And so what ends up happening is this energy of abandonment, this feeling of abandonment is deep in the subconscious. It's not an excuse. It's something to take a look at. And so what you do is you start looking at all these experiences. And I kept on trying to figure out why I kept on picking relationships, friendships, intimate relationships, romantic relationships, that it would be going great and then the person would leave or they would end it or there would be something that would happen that would end it. I'm like, what is this? This is a pattern. And so we attract what we are, not what we want. Does that make sense? And so that will mess with people because they'll think, I thought positive thinking created the world around me. Yeah, in a sense, yes. Except that if you have positive thinking above the surface of the feeling of being abandoned, you have to work on the feeling of being abandoned in the first place. And the truth is I wasn't necessarily abandoned. I was the child of a 15-year-old father who had parents that had to move to another state. He was a kid. And so these are the things that you have to go back, and then you have to do the forgiveness work. And it's not just forgiveness of the other person, it's forgiveness of yourself for, that feeling. And because you didn't know, we did, as in the 4 agreements, we do the best we can with what we have. And so what you do is you start working on that, you start looking at it, you start paying attention to it. And these are opportunities to look. So now what I've started to look at is when something surfaces, because the shadow or the whatever we want to refer to it as, all these things that happen to us, like I give you an example, 2006, a lot of traumatic things happened to me. I lost my relationship, I lost my house, I lost my car, I think all my stuff was stolen from me, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty traumatic. Well, what ends up happening is the ego can only take so much. The physical ego can only take so much. And so then it puts it on the shelf. It says, you know what? Can't take a look at this right now. It's just too much for me to handle. I just need to get basic functioning back down. And that was true. I had to get myself out of bed from the depression I was going through. And so I would force myself to get up, go take a shower, get prepared for the day, and actually create action. Because there's another universal law. Everybody wants to focus on the law of attraction. There's another universal law that says action. So movement creates movement in life. And so if you don't have that action, then you're not going to see movement. And so what ended up happening is that you take it each step of the way, and you have to go back and look. So when things pop up, when these beach balls, so to speak, because as you put them on the shelf, basically they're like beach balls underwater, what's eventually going to happen? They're going to surface. And so they're going to surface sometimes at times when you can really pay attention. They're going to surface sometimes at the worst of times. But the important thing is that you actually take a look at it and do the work. What ends up happening is people are like, I don't know what's going on with me. I have no excuses of why I'm feeling like this, all this energy. If you're feeling that uncomfortable feeling, that's a time to sit down and listen and pay attention and sit in that anger, sit in that uncomfortableness. Why? Because what ends up happening is you end up having to take a look, doing the forgiveness work, opening up the energy, releasing it, and giving it back. So what's happened is that we tensely hold on to all these traumas, but we don't even realize the background of it. Because I can tell you what is that 9 times out of 10, 90% of all disagreements and the ending of relationships are from a misunderstanding. 10% of it is based on values. And so if that means the case, that means 9 times out of 10, everything it happens to be problems with relationships have to do with misunderstandings. And so if you go back and you look as the ultimate observer, as quantum physics would state, then you take a look at it as an observer and you say, why is that? What is it? Why did I react like that? Why did they react like that? It's not about finding excuses. It's about just taking a look at it and saying, well, wait a second. And then you start to look at it and you can look at the other person's perspective. Why are they thinking this way? When I look back at that situation from being a child, and when I start looking at it, and I was mad at my father for many, many years. And then I realized, wait a second, he was 15. My mother was 16. My mother's the one that raised me. And so now his family moved away. Is it his fault? No, because he actually tried to look for me. We lost touch back in those days. It wasn't all this digital world that it is right now. He actually did try to look for me, and they couldn't find him. Finally, we did find each other, and we have a great relationship now. But so those are the things you have to look at. So even looking back at my breakup in 2006, that was a relationship destined to be doomed in the beginning, and it went on for 7 years. That he lived in another state, I lived in Florida. I traveled as a corporate trainer. We got to see each other on a regular basis because of my travel schedule, but it's still not a healthy relationship. And so, and then you have to ask yourself the question, why would you put yourself in an unhealthy relationship? Because there's that abandonment issue. So the feeling of, hey, I have this relationship in another state, so it's safe. He gets to do what he wants, I get to do what I want, and we get to come together and enjoy each other's company here and there. But that wasn't enough for him, and to be honest with you, it wasn't enough for me. So we were acting out this role of, so we didn't have to feel alone, but we didn't want to necessarily bring each other together. We didn't want to bring each other together because we didn't want to feel abandoned, because likes attract like. So we had the same issue going on. So when you start to look at this from a 360 view, or zoom out, so to speak, you start to see a change in stuff. You're like, wait a second, that's fascinating. And so you stop looking at it as this person did this to me, and you start looking at it as the observer, and you start to ponder. And then when you start to ponder, you start to really think, wow, I really thought that. You know, I was thinking about the other day about this situation at a Walmart where I got upset at a Walmart worker, and I projected out all my feelings of inadequacy, my feelings of lack of control, my anger on this poor woman who's just trying to help. And I was basically what they would call these days a Karen or a Ken or whatever they want to call it. And so this is like 12 years ago. And I thought to myself, I'm projecting all this anger on somebody. And so you have to stop and think. I'm telling you these stories because I want you to stop and think. Have you ever done that? Have you ever been a Karen? And some of you are going to say, no, I've never been. I mean, and I hate to say this, we've all been a little bit of a Karen sometimes. We've all been a drama queen. We've all had things. Those times when you're the drama queen are the opportunity for you to look. That's it. That's all it is, to look, give forgiveness, let go. And then that situation where the Walmart, I had to go back because it's deeper than just this person does this to me. It's the feelings of what was going on in me and where did they come from? So you have to dig back deeper to where they came from. So these situations are like gateways to look within. So they're great opportunities so that as you start gradually building, it's like a child having a temper tantrum inside of you. And you may not outwardly project it out, because I didn't always outwardly project it out. It was going on internally. And so these are things that you have, when they're opportunities, and bless them. Thank you for surfacing so that I can take a look at it, so I can find more peace. I can attract the world that I want because I attract what I am, not what I want. So if I'm at peace, if I feel abundant, if I feel value within and outside of myself, then guess what? I'm going to start attracting that life that I've always wanted. So that's my thoughts for the day. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I just want to point out, and I'll keep on bringing this up on these shows, I have a retreat that is going to be happening in October of this year. You can check out more of it at our heartalchemyretreats.com. I keep on calling it healing. Donna and I might have to look at what we're calling it. It says heartalchemyretreats.com. It's October 3rd through the 7th in Belize. So if any of you have looked at me traveling, because I know I get messages all the time, I would love to travel. Here I've literally planned out the itinerary. Donna and I put together a great itinerary, great workshops. And hey, we're going to be here to support you every step of the way. There's a really cool itinerary coming up. And the other thing I just want to throw up here is that I am available for sessions. And so if you guys go on there and you've watched this, you can go to the storytellingalchemist.com. And if you go to the storytellingalchemist.com and you enter in Peace Be Still is the coupon code, I believe it is a 30% discount on a session with me. So Peace Be Still. So anybody that watches this video, they can do that. And there's not going to be an expiration date on it, but it's just a way for you to get in so we can start getting you working on yourself and helping you change those stories within yourself. So anyways, much love, everybody. And I hope everybody has a blessed